Hello, everyone. The December 22nd Board of Elections and Registration Certification Meeting for the SD 35 runoff is called to order at 4 p.m. Please rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we have the agenda in front of us today. It's a relatively short agenda. Does anybody have any changes, or is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I motion that we approve the agenda as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the agenda is approved. We will pass it over to you, Michael, for the director's election report.
That's a little closer. Good afternoon, everyone. Just have a few slides. If I can get it working. Here we go. Let me move this out of the way. Okay, so our advanced in-person totals. So from Monday, December 8th through Friday, December 12th, we saw 1,864 voters at Smyrna Community Center. I went ahead and made the adjustments as you requested to have the days of the week there.
Great, thank you.
And like I previously mentioned, we saw our normal trend where on the last day it really ramped up. Keely, the AIP supervisor, told me it was steady, quiet. That's what we like. And then of course, on that last day, it really ramped up. So glad people showed up, even though it was only a 2.6% turnout. Considering with the voter exhaustion and everything we've been dealing with, for people still to come out. It's a good thing. Okay, absentee by mail. We had 30 ballots returned. 2 of those ballots were rejected and we accepted 28. There was one, actually, I think I mentioned that on the next slide on the provision. There was one provisional issued for a mismatch on the address. It was due back on election night by 7 and we did not receive it back. So obviously it did not count. So a total of 28 votes absentee by mail.
Is that one that you didn't receive in time? Is that one of the rejected ballots?
No, that's a separate.
Separate.
Mhm.
And do we know how many we sent out?
I don't off the top of my head, but I can
It's
easily
okay,
find that. I know for November 18th, I think we had 41 that voted absentee by mail, so a little less than November 18th. Yes, so provisional. There's that one absentee by mail issued for a mismatching address. And then, of course, we had the 2 for election day. Both of those were coded out of precinct for Smyrna 6A and Vinings 02. If you see on your election summary report, you'll see those 2 provisional ballots are now showing there.
Michael, I have a question. How can you get a ballot if your address is mismatched?
For absentee by mail?
Yeah.
I'm not really sure how that process works. I know every election, that was one of the things that came up was the mismatching address. So
What is it mismatch?
I think it's on the application itself.
So it's what, an internal error, not a voter error?
I'm not sure. I can find out for you.
Okay, yeah, I
inquired
would
what's the
like to
reason.
know that because I think you mentioned that maybe in the,
I think it was December 2nd. I think there
I
was
think,
one for December 2nd
I think
too.
you may have mentioned it prior. And I just kind of wondered if the address doesn't match, how did the voter get the ballot?
Sure, I mean, that's
I
a
mean,
valid
that doesn't
question.
make sense unless we're mailing it to the wrong voter.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly,
Well, they might not have gotten it because it didn't get returned.
that's true.
So,
They may what?
well, it was
That-
issued as a provisional, so they had to cure that. It never came back, so it's possible that it didn't arrive. I mean, we can find out the exact situation.
We
But-
probably need to because people are a little sensitive about the addresses on mailing ballots to them. I would just like to know.
Sure, yeah, I'm
Okay.
sure that's a very easily answered question.
I would
think
hope so.
Dominique
yeah.
was just out there, so I can get that answer for you
Okay,
guys.
that'd
really
be
quick.
great. Yeah.
Okay, so our official and complete results. So everything still matched up from our election night, aside from the total amount and the provisionals. So for election day, we ended up with 1,902 voters. Of course, for advanced voting, 1,864, absentee by mail, 28, two provisionals for a grand total of 3,796, roughly 5.3% turnout. I did get some clarification on the varying registration numbers. So the number that I saw in ePulse includes active and inactive. The number that is entered into EMS is active only. However, that number that was manually entered included Mableton 6 Bravos combo 1035, which was not eligible for SD 35. And that was the difference of 1,156 voters. So that's why those two, where precincts reported the registered voters, that is why that was a discrepancy there, was because that was. And it's not included in the actual election project. So that's where in the body of the report, it pulled the correct number because it was programmed without that combo, where we just went in and manually entered it incorrectly, basically. Why it works that way, I don't really have an answer on
I
that.
was just
but
gonna say, why wouldn't the summary at the top
Yeah.
pull from what we,
Mhm.
that's another Jarvis mystery, I guess.
Well, let me ask you, I think from a protocol standpoint, so that we are not putting out numbers that don't tie,
Mhm.
we need something, who's ever putting, if there is manual entry required,
Mhm.
especially in an election summary report type, whatever of information we're producing that's publicly available, obviously, we need to have some protocol in place for a double check.
Sure.
Somebody needs to be looking at that. I'm not sure why this number, I mean, I'm not the programmer, so I don't know why, as I'm sure you don't, why those two numbers aren't pulling from the same,
Sure.
why they're not pulling from the programmed election project.
Mhm.
That's really what we're talking about here.
Mhm.
So, that might be a question that we need to either as the board ask or for you to ask, but we need to figure out, especially moving forward, nobody should be entering anything manual
Sure.
into this type of reporting, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I know this is gonna shock everybody. I 100% agree with that comment. Because when you start allowing manual entries into election results, that
Mhm.
could get.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it
Highly
makes,
contested.
it makes a lot of sense on why it shouldn't be that way, but just remember,
But
it's not really
Jarvis.
affecting any of the votes or anything. It's just, it would really just affect the turnout. So, I mean, though that's important data, it's not really affecting the total amount of votes.
Sure.
So, I mean, it's still important. I mean, why would we have?
But if you
public-
can do that
inaccurate.
manually, what else can you
Sure.
do manually is where my brain
Yeah,
goes.
and I
right?
can ask, I know there's two ways, there's a way that you can upload a report into it that's pulled out of Jarvis, or you can manually do it. I know we kind of went back and forth
Oh,
previously
okay.
on why we are doing it a certain way.
Mhm.
But I'll get with registration and we'll kind of hammer out the details
Okay.
on that and make sure there's a check and balance. So
Okay.
we can ensure that there's not an extra combo in there just for the sake of not having a discrepancy right there in your face.
Okay.
And I think, just one other thing to investigate is, now this was a runoff with, 21 precincts, right? So it's a question my question actually for this is, all right, on a full election or a countywide election, is it also manual entry at that point? Or is this was a one-off because of the type of election this is?
No, so it's a manual entry every election.
Okay, so yeah,
Oh.
we definitely need to be looking at what that process is, that is something,
Yeah, and I even pulled.
that's checked.
Oh, is it because during an election, you're frozen out of being able to
I
make change?
thought about that, with the changes that could occur,
Right.
in the freeze, but,
That
I looked
could
at
be
several,
why they
and
have to
the
leave
numbers
it
didn't
open
match
for
on a few of them,
manual
so.
entry.
That makes
During an
sense.
gotta get
election.
some-
Right,
if
because
you-
something,
Numbers didn't match on a few of the,
Election summary reports from previous elections, yeah, I didn't look back at all of them, but just the ones that I had on my
It
desk.
would make sense that it would have to be a manual entry because of the freeze on on the portion of registration or someone moving within that.
because once the election project is set, it's set.
Correct.
So we're
And then
not-
you cannot move. So that may be why you have to enter it manually.
But we should just have an internal process.
Yeah.
That verifies.
To make sure that we
Right.
aren't putting extra combos in there,
Right,
especially with how messed up new precinct boundaries are.
Mhm.
Yeah.
well, and how easy it is to cast doubt on, on something when you don't tie the numbers out.
Sure.
So that's why I look at it like, this is more like a protection for
Yeah.
our voters and for the
Now,
department.
did the reporting with the undervotes, did that make more sense to everybody?
It really
I
helps.
like
It
that a
really
lot.
helps. Yeah.
Yeah, that's,
I do
And that
have a
would be-
question about that though. What differentiates an undervote and a blank ballot?
It's the same, I mean,
Okay.
yeah, I'm trying to think when there is no write-in.
the way it's
Well,
recorded
a
here.
blank ballot,
Yeah.
I guess if you have
Numbers.
multiple races on the ballot would be they didn't vote for anyone.
Correct.
An undervote, you didn't vote in one or more.
Which we see those
A
in
lot.
every election where they'll not vote for one of the contest or leave it completely blank. We see examples of both of those scenarios every election.
Which is one reason why we need to differentiate on that undervote.
But I definitely like the election summary report with it.
Yeah, me too.
All right. Do we have questions or is there more?
That is it.
I appreciated all the reporting on the drive this time. That was super helpful.
Sure.
Do we know yet when Kemp has to call the 14th date
Oh.
For MTG, so
for the 19
Well,
Republicans?
let's come back. Let's do,
Okay.
can we come back to that one?
Yeah,
All right. Any questions on the election? And any more, there's no more information for us. We're
That's
good? Okay, so then let's move on to certification. And is there a motion to certify the December 16th special election runoff for Senate District 35?
so moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly seconded to certify the election for December 16th for Senate District 35 special election runoff. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the election is certified. If everybody can stay afterwards to make sure we sign this, that would be great. And go ahead, Debbie. We're done. We're certified. You can ask.
Oh,
You want to?
sure, for MTG,
Yeah.
we're not really sure right now. Based on the law, I believe the governor has to issue the writ of election within 10 days of the resignation or when she
which is
vacated her
the,
seat.
she claims it'll be the 5th.
Yeah, January 5th. So that's where, depending on what day he issues it, I believe for the last one, for the November 18th, I think in that code, it was 20 days, and I think he did it on the last day.
He did.
So in this scenario, I think the earliest it would be based on that provision. I want to say it was February 17th or something like that. But since this is congressional district, Cobb ballots apply. And then there's 45 days where those ballots have to be ready before the election.
So we have a little conflict.
Yeah,
that-
so
We don't
I
know
don't
what it's
see
gonna
how
do.
they could hold it at that time. They would have to push it out to meet that requirement.
Say the
So-
last part, the federal, I know.
So the overseas ballots,
Mhm.
there's a
Oh,
provision where they have to
extended.
be ready 45 days before the election.
Okay.
Okay.
So-
Which would mean we would,
Are
we
we
would have
gonna
to deal with
have
it right
to
now.
are we gonna have to do, oh, good Lord, if we're doing Uacava, the last jungle primary we had with Uacava, we had to do, I'm having a senior moment. They have to pick.
Ranked choice.
Thank you,
Yeah.
ranked choice.
Yes.
We'll have to
I-
do
We
the same
will
thing.
have to do
I'm
ranked.
not sure. That was my understanding. That's how we did it last time,
That's how we
but
did it,
I
yeah.
haven't really gotten that far yet. But we'll find out for sure. But end of February into March is probably the timeline we're looking at.
So it could that's where I was gonna go next. It could feasibly interfere with, isn't there something else that's already been called for March?
There, on March is like, there's a special election that's like,
It's a slot.
it's like a slot on the calendar.
That's where I was going with that. Is that what he will use?
Well,
Kind of defeats the. or
That would be good.
it would be
best.
good, but I'm not sure that I think it's later in March. I can look real quick and tell you when that is.
My concern
45
is,
days, I was looking 45 days from January 5th, say the announcement does come on the 5th.
well, it would be 45 days from the election date.
That's the one, that's the
So,
17th.
3/7.
But yes, it would depend on when he calls for it. But it's from the
So it won't
election
be
date, not from
It would
January
make
5th.
sense that.
And
would
we
be
had
when he
we
does.
had a very similar situation in 2017 because Tom Price left his congressional seat. And then there was a special jungle election to fill it for CD6 back in 2017. Do y'all remember that?
Yes.
That's when Ossoff ran against Karen Handel and that whole thing. But it was like the same situation. So I was just.
I don't
confused to
think
see-
that was a jungle primary.
Mhm.
It was? So you,
Yeah, and it was for a congressional seat. So it's the same, that's like apples to apples to this.
Well, my
Situation.
concern is if somehow we do manage to get it into February and then there actually is another special. then
On
we're
that March
looking-
17th.
We're looking at November 4th and November 18th all over again in 2026.
Hmm.
And then straight into, primaries.
and the primary is May what?
May 19th,
19th, so.
right? With the
almost
runoff in June.
Exactly 2 months later.
Yeah. So that's what we're looking at there.
Again.
But my guess is we really won't know anything until, there's not gonna be,
Well, one thing I think we pretty much know for sure, there'll be a runoff in the general primary.
There will.
No doubt about that.
And I did pull some data last week. It was 34 precincts at the information I was looking at. that week.
34?
34 precincts.
Wow. Wow, I didn't think there were that many in Cobb.
one of the things I would request, since we're discussing this, is that we start to look at what AIP might look like.
Sure.
And we just, even though we can't predict what that is, when the dates are gonna be, but starting to look at it with 34 precincts, we want to make sure we have good coverage, and we want to make sure that we've got some people on board for that AIP situation. I think it'd be good to look at that a little bit in advance.
Sooner the better.
Yeah. Is there any other conversation? Is there any need for any sort of executive session? No. Okay, well, we have certified the election. Our next meeting is Monday, January 12th at 3 PM. That's our regular monthly meeting at the Board of Commissioners office or meeting room. And we are officially adjourned at 4:19 PM.
I